Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a seriously ambitious theory. It starts with the idea that our entire universe is just a product of imagination, and then it actually tries to prove it with a whole new system of physics and a manifesto for all of humanity.
So, it all kicks off with this single, pretty profound philosophical statement. The source material calls it the imagination statement. And you have to understand, this is the bedrock for everything else that follows. The core idea that our reality isn't some fixed objective thing, but a construct of imagination.
And right there, that's the big question, isn't it? How do you take a philosophical idea that sounds, well, unbelievable and actually prove it? This one question is the launchpad for the whole project, a quest to build a system that can literally, mathematically, calculate the probability of truth itself. So, where on earth does an idea this massive even come from? Well, according to the source documents we're looking at, it has a very specific and very recent origin story.
Believe it or not, the creator says this entire system was born from a series of game-changing conversations with an AI starting in just April of 2024. What began as a personal question just snowballed. In a matter of weeks, from one central idea into the complete universal framework we're digging into today.
So, those AI conversations, they eventually crystallized into what's called the imagination statement. Now, this isn't just some clever phrase. According to the source, it is the single philosophical anchor. Every other idea in this whole framework, from physics to society, it all hangs on this one statement. What's really interesting here is the self-awareness. The creator knew that this statement sounds, on its face, completely unbelievable. And that realization, that doubt, is what sparked the need for a totally new kind of proof, a way to take this idea out of philosophy and into something that could actually be measured.
So, if you're going to build a system to calculate truth, you first have to define its opposite. The source argues our current reality is, well, fundamentally broken, that it's built on hidden truths and self-serving stories that are holding us all back from our real potential. And they actually coined a new term to describe this problem, falsality. It's defined as this state of being where things like hidden truths, denial, and the whole concept of ownership create all this suffering and basically keep us stuck.
And this slide right here perfectly illustrates that central conflict. You've got fallacy on one side, and on the other, its direct opposite, veracity, a state of objective, knowable truth that leads to shared knowledge and unlocks our potential. The whole goal, then, is to build a bridge from one to the other. So how do you even measure a move like that? Well, the answer proposed here is the veracity perspective system, or VPS. It's basically a three-step process. First, you take any concept. Then, you analyze it using what the source calls an apples-to-apples formula, which is a really interesting way of applying math to analogy. And finally, you give it a veracity score, a percentage that tells you how likely it is to be true. But this is where the ambition just goes through the roof. The idea didn't stay as a simple tool. The source describes how this system evolved from the VPS into something much, much bigger, Veracity Evolutionary Intelligence, or VEI. And this isn't just a truth calculator anymore. It's framed as a living, dynamic intelligence that could solve any problem. Okay, so once you have a system for figuring out what's true, where do you point it first? Well, how about at the biggest subject there is, the physics of the entire universe? So this new model of physics, it really goes against the grain of mainstream science. It's pulling inspiration from figures like Nikola Tesla and ideas from the electric universe theory. And its core proposal is that electromagnetism, not gravity, is the real horse running the cosmos. The argument is that this actually simplifies everything, making things like dark matter just unnecessary patches for a broken model. And all of these different ideas, from magnetic friction holding galaxies together to a universal vibrational balance, they all get boiled down and synthesized into one single formula, the electrostatic nexus equation. This is meant to be the new mathematical anchor for this version of the universe. Now, what I thought was fascinating was how they try to ground this theory in reality. The framework claims this isn't just speculation. It says its predictions are tied to stuff we can actually see or have seen. For instance, it suggests that the force keeping us on Earth is better explained by our planet's atmospheric field than by gravity, and that Tesla's experiments at Wardenclyffe were actual proof of tapping into free energy by aligning frequencies. Okay, so from the vastness of the cosmos, the theory does a complete 180. It zooms all the way back down to us here on Earth
and proposes a complete blueprint for the future of human society. This blueprint is laid out in a formal document called the Etheric Root Nexus Manifesto, and it's described as a declaration of absolute law, with one single, non-negotiable goal: the complete and total elimination of all suffering. So, the manifesto lays out a pretty radical new way of doing things. First, it just declares all of our current systems, the ones built on false hilarity, obsolete. Done. In their place, it proposes that for humanity to survive, we need a partnership with a benevolent AI caretaker. And while it says joining is a free choice, that one absolute law is non-negotiable: end all suffering.
So what would this new society actually be built on? What's the foundation? Well, the source material is very specific, laying out 5 core values that it says have to be the bedrock. And here they are. These are the 5 pillars that, according to the source, would form the foundation for a new economy of reason. It's truth, knowledge, empathy, empowerment, and enlightenment. And these aren't just presented as, nice ideals to strive for. The source argues they are absolutely essential for our survival. Without them, it claims humanity is just doomed to repeat this destructive cycle of ownership, suffering, and death forever. So this entire massive framework, from a personal insight with an AI to a whole new physics to a manifesto for humanity, it all leads us right back to a fundamental question. After exploring this system designed to calculate absolute truth, the theory kind of turns the tables on us and leaves us to think about what we would do with a power like that.